Hello, welcome to Greek Verse a Day. Today we're translating Revelation 3:7. And as the trope has gone for the last few videos, please excuse any interruptions via noise of windows being installed. I have a nice fancy new window without the inner frame or the inner trim, you should say. But I do have a nice new window that slides very easily. They're working on the windows on the rest of the building, so there's still some noise going on. As always, you should be working from your Reader's Edition of the Greek New Testament and looking to the screen for some help. So we'll see a little bit of a repetition of a structure that we've seen before in Revelation here. As always, let's start with a slow reading, move to a fast reading, and give you a chance to go off on your own for some translation. We have Kai to angelo tes in Philadelphia Ecclesias grapson. Tade lege ha hagias ha alethanos ha ekon tain klein David ha anoigon kai udes klese kai kleon kai udes anoige. Once more, a little bit faster. Kai to angelo tes in Philadelphia Ecclesias grapson. Tade lege ha hagias ha alethanos ha ekon tain klein David ha anoigon kai udes klese kai kleon kai udes anoige. So at this point, go ahead and pause the video, take a look at your Reader's Edition, work from here and the helps given there to see what you can make of this translation. So at the beginning, this part right here, really down to right here, is going to be a repeated structure from what we've seen with all of the different addresses to the different angels over the various churches. So our main verb in this sentence is going to be this last word right here. You don't get a parsing note on it. It is going to be an aorist active imperative. Remember, imperative is the mood of command, telling one to do something. It's going to be a second person singular from the verb grapho. So the command is Jesus telling John, commanding John to write, and he is writing to the angel over the church in Philadelphia. So we have here the dative. This dative phrase here is going to be the indirect object. Remember, the accusative is the direct object in a sentence. The dative case is going to be the indirect object, who the action happens to one step removed. So whereas the direct object is the thing that's being directly worked upon by the verb, the indirect object receives it in an indirect or secondary manner. So write to the angel, and then our genitive phrase that follows it, tes in Philadelphia, ecclesias. So ecclesias and tes go together. Both of these are genitive feminine singulars. And then this prepositional phrase is stuck in between the definite article and the noun that it goes with. And we've said it a few times as we've been translating through Revelation, but do you remember what the fancy word for this phenomenon is that's different, or it's not totally peculiar to Greek, but it's different from English, wherein the definite article is separated from the noun it goes with, and something is stuck in between. Do you remember what that word was, the fancy grammatical term? That's right, hyperbaton. And John is a pretty big fan of hyperbaton, as are most Greek writers. It's a sort of handy thing. So literally, the in Philadelphia church, in English, we like to take this part and stick it after the church that is in Philadelphia. And then this is going to be the content. So everything that comes next is going to be the content of what John is to write. We have an indicative verb right away with lege, present active indicative, third person singular, so says. And then remember, this is a special little word that's somewhat peculiar to Revelation, or it's most common in Revelation in the New Testament, and it's going to be these things. It's really sort of a combination of ta and de. It's going to be the direct object. It's a neuter accusative plural. So as an accusative, it's the direct object. It is what is said. And then as the structure goes, or as we've seen before, that these things are going to be given to us after a long sort of title for the one who is saying them. So the subject of this verb is going to be essentially all of this right here. String of nominatives with some verbs going with a nominative participle here. And we'll talk about that in just a second. So we have ha-hagios, the Holy One. Ha-alethanos, the true one. So you can see sort of a repetition of the alpha there. We don't get that in English when we change this to holy and this to true. Excuse me. So the Holy One, the true one, ha-ekon, the one having. So ekon right here is going to be a participle. It's a present active participle, nominative masculine singular. We get that noun or adjective information from the definite article that comes before it. The one having, tain, klein, David. So remember, participles can take an object because they are part verb, part noun, or part verb, part adjective. They're verbal adjectives. And as verbs, they can take objects. So the one having the key of David. This name right here, David, is indeclinable. That means it's not going to change its ending or its form based on what case it's in. Here we're going to assume, or we know it's in the genitive case because of how it's functioning in the sentence. It's saying whose key? David's key. It's a genitive of possession. So we want to put this in blue to show our genitive. We can do that there. So the one having the key of David, and then another participle immediately following, ha-anoigon. We're our same parsing information here with anoigon as ekon, a present active participle, nominative masculine singular, and it's from anoigo, which means I open. So the one opening. And then this whole phrase after it is going to sort of give us more information about the one opening. So the one opening and udes, no one. This is a nominative word here. No one, klese, no one will shut. So you get a parsing note for this. It's a future active indicative. That sigma right in there is your clue to the future. A third person singular, which you get from this a ending. So no one will shut. Kai kleon, so another participle from this same verb right here. So the no one will shut and opening. So notice how this this participle is like these other ones. It's part of the title for Jesus here. The one, no one will shut, and shutting, so using the same verb here, shutting, a present active participle, nominative masculine singular, and no one, so again, this is the same grammatical structure here, the nominative as up here, with a verb following it, anoige. This time it's actually a present active indicative. So whereas over here we had a future, here we have a present active indicative. Third person singular from anoigo. So he, she, or it opens, and no one opens. And when you have something like this, a future sort of a mismatch between tenses, so we might expect to have a future tense right here or to have a present tense right here. We really sort of like these to match up. It'd be a little bit neater and cleaner if it matched up. And when you see things like that in a sort of mismatch, a lot of times what you'll find is in the manuscript history or in the manuscript variants, scribes will actually have tried to fix things like that. They see this and say, oh, this must have been a mistake. One of these needs to be changed to match the other one. So a lot of manuscripts will have this word right here, this verb right here, in the future tense rather than the present in order to match this. Or a number of manuscripts, a number of different manuscripts, will put this one into the present tense in order to match the last verb. So all that to say, if you don't get a note, a textual criticism note in your reader's edition, but we'll talk more about text criticism in the exegesis class. It's just something to sort of be aware of. When you have a mismatch, a lot of times what you'll find is scribes went back and tried to make things match up. All right, let's go ahead and go back and put our entire verse back together here. We have, and to the angel over the church in Philadelphia, write. The Holy One, the true one, the one having the key of David, the one opening and no one will close, and closing and no one will open, says these things.